Okay, so I'm very excited to chat with the both of you because people are very familiar with the houses October built, like the 2014 found footage film. But there's actually one that came before it in 2011. And I just watched this and was told it was a documentary. So I want to hear a little bit more about this original film and how that kind of came to be.
The original came about, I think we started pitching it around '09.
Okay.
But at that time, it was the height of paranormal activity. And I think
Oh.
yeah, that's what everybody was kind of looking for was the supernatural and ghost stories.
Mhm.
So we couldn't really get through to a lot of the executives' heads that also weren't very familiar with haunted houses outside of Not Scary Farms and Universal Horror Nights. They weren't
Mm.
really realizing how big of business and how fun it was, and these elaborate sets out in the Midwest and in the South. So in ways we failed. We couldn't get anybody to wrap their head around it. So we kind
Okay.
of decided to take the Kevin Smith approach and we ran our cards. And if it didn't work, we were in a lot of trouble. So, but we believed in our heart. Zach and I grew up together. We grew up going to haunts. We knew how big they were, how theatrical, how
Yeah.
amazing the scare actors were. And we kind of wanted to put them on screen. And we'd also noticed that nobody had ever really put haunted houses on the big screen. And so we kind of wanted to highlight that.
Yeah.
You know, there's Funhouse like Toby Hooper's 80, but it's like that's Carnival. It's very
Yeah.
hard to find anything because I wasn't sure if like outside of LA, New York, these guys just didn't know what it was. And so we kind of did it on our own, went rogue. And we got to open for Eli Roth. He won Horror Director of the Decade, was getting this award, and I think they were going to show Cabin Fever. So the theater was packed, and but it was all for him. They never heard of our movie or any of that, and so we got to open for him, and we ended up winning the festival, and you could
Oh,
hear a
that's
pin
so
drop. Yeah, it was
cool.
super cool, and um,
So
I
did
guess
people go into it thinking it was a documentary, like an actual documentary?
Well,
Did people go into
that
it
that
thinking,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
the other
okay,
thing is we wanted your reaction or the way you got to watch it was our intention to begin with. Um,
it
but
got me?
I'm not sure audiences were ready in the way and definitely like Bobby was saying, the studio, it's hard for them to wrap their head around like, so you're gonna just show me a documentary for an hour and then things are gonna take a turn, right? Because if you don't do the incredibly slow burn, then you don't really earn the switch. Now, the 2014 version obviously, plays out very similar to the 2011 version as far as the setup and everything, but it needed to have higher quality sound and video and and scares along the way, right? So we weren't trying to get you to take the bait quite as hard. We more had accepted that we were making a movie that the studios needed to be behind. But for the version you just saw, that was just Bobby and I and Jeff and Mikey and Brandy out there doing it and going to real places and talking to real people because Bobby and I knew at the end we really wanted you to think, wait, was that real? So
I
hopefully,
literally need to send you a screenshot because Guillermo, the PR person, emailed me, and then I emailed him and I said, "Wait, I thought you said this was a documentary. Like, what is this? Like, what did I just watch?" And he just said maniacal laughter and like didn't send me anything else. And I was like, I don't understand what I just watched. Help me! Like, you got because I honestly was like, oh, cool, they like made a documentary, and then at the end I was like, oh no. Oh wait. So you really, I mean, I'm excited for people to experience it because it got me. It
that's
tricked me a
good.
little bit.
Well, that's
I
the hard
love
part, right? We knew if you were in a theater, maybe it's going to be harder to kind of swallow that watermelon. But what was
Yeah.
cool, spoiler alert, I guess for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, turn it off. But when we were invited to that festival and it played really well, I just had this, you can feel a room. And when it worked, I ran up to the festival director and I said, "We're killing the Q&A. We're not doing it." And he was pissed. And I was like, we're not doing it. They took this bait way harder than we thought. And I grabbed the cast and we went and hid in the projection room. and I had them turn out the lights in the theater, and everybody had glow sticks under their seat, and so they had to get out of the theater in the dark, like the third act. Yeah, it was cool.
What the fuck? That's
And we would have
incredible.
loved for, I think there's a alternate reality where we would have had a chance for this version to, if somebody would have gotten behind it, they could have made it happen. Like, could we have been as big as Blair Witch? Because we did model ourselves off
Yeah.
of, like, they made a very similar type movie, but theirs was fake from frame one. I mean, they hired actors to act like townspeople, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to take that same model of building this mythology and the way that they fooled people with, like, wait, what did I just watch? That feeling you had. And we thought we can do that again if we are real from frame one instead of fake. So all of our people along the way that you meet and we interviewed, they work for haunted houses, because we pictured we're in a
Oh.
different era, right? Where you've got
Yeah.
computers, and you've got on your body with your cell phone. So we pictured, Bobby and I always talked about how kids were going to think that they were smarter than us. And they were going to be like, oh, stupid, how's this October built? Let me just Google this haunted house, or, Google the name of one of these guys. And then it was going to come up real, that it was a real place that you could actually go to. And then that was going to make people maybe set their phone down and go, what am I watching?
That's so cool. I mean, again, like I was like, is Blue Skeleton actually real? Like, is this because I also just went to like a haunt for the first. I don't like haunts. Haunts, I'm too scared of them. I'm a baby. I love horror movies, but I am like the target of every haunt actor because I am so jumpy, and I'm also almost 6 feet tall. So it's like a giant woman screaming. Everyone loves it. But I went to one, and I was thinking about this movie, the 2014 version, and how I was like, I don't trust haunt people. So your movie has actually made me a little bit wary. I know they're
Sure.
movies, but of haunt actors. It's actually because again, this is like one of the few films that really goes in and was the progenitor, I think, of like the contemporary haunt movie.
Well, we hope that, like, the idea kind of came from something super simple, and but the idea that, does a tree make a sound in the forest if there's nobody around to hear it if it falls?
Yeah.
And we wanted to ask the question, have you ever seen a dead body in a haunted house? Because you can't definitively tell me that you have not, right? Like, the
Yeah.
whole objective is to be as real, smell real, look real as can be. And so that was like the beginning of, like, how
Wow.
can we just put that question kind of in people's heads every time they
Yeah.
walk through a haunt, think about what they're looking at, that kind of thing. But, ultimately the haunt community itself as a whole is fantastic, and basically a family, and everybody was, pretty open armed to us. And it's kind of been a really nice relationship that we've had now for the past 14, 15 years with the haunt community. So, I think it hopefully puts some of them on the map and perpetuity. I mean, all those places are very real, and you can go visit them. And
That's awesome.
so, yeah, it was always a love letter to Halloween before it was a horror movie.
Hell yeah. Well, before we wrap up, what were the two for the both of you, the scariest haunt you've ever been to, you've ever experienced?
That's funny because we always get asked that question, and we actually uh, kind of formed a network called Haunt Society that people can check out, because it's kind of our.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to hauntsociety.com, you can see some attractions all over the country, wherever you are, that we're basically saying, okay, this is a legit place to go.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
because
Hell yeah. Okay.
there's just too many instances of different places kind of using the landscape and, what they were given. And I mean, there was a place in Texas that I remember we came out of, and we were just in this like abandoned graveyard field. Like everywhere you looked was just land. And that was one of my scarier moments, because nothing was there. And you couldn't do that if you were in New York, right? So I think
Yeah.
places have done a good job of kind of using what they've got and being creative. And we have so many different memories from each place. We're actually going to be headed to Tennessee and Ohio for a film festival this weekend, and are going to check out two more attractions we've never been to. And
Wait,
Zach,
I'm
you
you're
don't
going to
know. We're
Nightmares.
going to
You're going
be
to
a nightmare with
Nightmares?
you. Yes. Congratulations to you.
We're gonna hang out because my
Let's do
movie's
it.
at Nightmares this weekend, so we're gonna hang out in person, which is very exciting.
That sounds fun. Yeah, we will be there first. We'll be there Saturday because we have to be at Knoxville Horror Film Festival Friday, and then we're gonna
Oh,
head up
cool.
there. Yeah,
Cool.
that'd be cool.
That's
Congrats to
awesome.
you as well. You got
Thank
nominated.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
That
so
is your
much.
first feature.
It is my first feature. Yes.
Very cool.
Yes, we are in the middle of our festival run right now.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
a live interview update.
Exclusive update. But thank you. Before we wrap up, so this is now coming to Shudder, the 2011 version, and people can experience this now on Shudder, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So everyone, if you love The House is October Built, watch the 2011 version, or actually, hopefully you haven't watched this far and gotten spoiled before you've watched it, but we'll put spoiler warnings everywhere.
Okay.
But thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, and for people out there, like, just know it is two separate movies.
Yes,
like,
very different movies.
I've heard
They're
some
very
comments
different.
like, I swore that ending was different, and it's like it's a completely different. You might see some of the excerpts from the interviews, but other than that, this is a very raw version that's near and dear to us. That in many ways, I think executes some things better. I kind of personally like the third act of this one even better than the theatrical one because it feels, I don't know, it feels a little more real.
Yeah.
And it was for Brandy. I mean, for the most part, we didn't let her in on a lot because we needed that organic feel to be there.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, she doesn't get to go do the walk through the haunts before. It's all her first time going through all of that. And the third act, I mean, the script went all the way up till that scene, and then nobody got pages. So that's the only way to do it. If she doesn't believe it,
being like, you're fucking with me, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No!
So there's an element that we had to have. Now, for the record, she is a trooper and she very much is like our sister, and we are very protective of her. And
Yes.
but she went, through the ringer with us on it. And that was kind of the experiment. And to us, there's so many found footage movies that I think fall under these tropes, and they have these cardboard cutout characters. And I've kind of always had that philosophy. You have to care about somebody before you kill them. And you need to have that feel that these are real people. These are real stories. And we kind of always talk about how we have some inside jokes in the movie, all of them. And I hope that means even that you don't understand maybe the punchline or the joke, is that you go, oh, these people have a history together. I'm buying that this relationship is real. And I think that's super important. And I think a lot of movies fall short of that. And so that was kind of our reason for casting the way we did.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it feels, again, my husband walked in and he said, are you watching just like a documentary? I'm like, yeah, I'm watching a documentary. Like, literally, again, he just walked in and he was like, what is that? So again, you got me. So that's always fun because it doesn't happen a lot. So congratulations.
I'm glad to hear that. That makes me happy.
Thank you both so much. And happy Halloween.
We'll see you in Columbus.